Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to the second cloud-native-sig meeting. It's a regular sync up where we discuss ongoing projects in cloud-native Jenkins. Then we sync up on these projects and make some decisions about them. So if you're interested to participate in the discussion, you can find all the links to today's meeting on the cloud-native-sig page. It's Jenkins.io 6 cloud-native, and here you can find YouTube video. We broadcast on YouTube, and there is also a document with meeting agenda. So you can find this document, and if you want, you can propose your topics there. If you have any questions during the call, please ask them in the cloud-native-sig Gitter channel. We will be monitoring this chat and answering the questions. It's Jenkins CI/cloud-native-sig. We also have a participant link. So if you want to join the call, you can follow this link. But now we have a limitation of participants. So if you cannot join and if you want to ask something, just ping in the chat and we will try to do something with that. So, okay, I lost the focus on the window. Today we have several participants on the call. My name is Oleg Nashev. I'm the host today. We also have Carlos Sanchez on the call, Jesse Glick, Rick, Alex Noland, Evelina, Tracy Miranda, and I guess that's it, right? We have somebody else? Yeah, we also have Jesse on the call. Okay, yeah. I just missed him in the list. So we have several topics to discuss today. I arranged the topics according to the feedback and cloud-native-sig and discussions. So we will start from Jenkins configuration as code just to understand whether it is a cloud-native-sig or probably another SIG. Then we will sync up on the status of external configuration storage. This is a new job which has been submitted something like 10 days ago. And then together with Jesse, we will provide a status update on external build login, which we were discussing during the previous meeting. If you want to get more information about previous meeting, all the links are also available here. And last but not least, we will try to set up regular time slot for meetings so that we do not start doodle each time we want to meet. And yeah, probably we'll have some other topics. For example, I propose to discuss some feedback from Jeff Pierce, which we have got during the last meeting. So yeah, this is the agenda I propose for today. Does it look good to you, or would you like to add something else? Okay, I guess no. So for meeting notes, we will be putting them to the document. So let's start from the first agenda item. It's configuration as code initiatives. So Evelina, maybe you would like to provide some context about this topic.
Okay, so first of all, I'm sorry, I just moved into a new apartment and there is a very not good internet. So if you can't hear me well, just sure Oleg can take over, but let's try. When I don't remember who was that suggested we can have special interest groups in Jenkins, Carlos or Oleg or someone else. Mm-hmm. But when the proposal came up, there was configuration as code as a separate SIG, and I was mentioned as a potential chairman. And I liked the idea, but then when it started, again, I can't recall who was that, suggested that maybe we can try to be a part of cloud-native-sig. And I liked the idea because I wasn't sure how much we will have to talk about configuration as code. But I thought about configuration as code in the context of the plugin only, and Oleg pointed out a couple of days ago that configuration as code are also Groovy scripts or maybe other things. So maybe we will have enough topics to talk about, and the configuration as code deserves. And I'm okay with that, but I would like to hear from you, cloud-native-sig participants. What's your opinion if you feel like configuration as code is a is a part of cloud native, or anyone wants to keep you. Do you agree with the idea of having a separate special interest group for configuration as code?
Okay. So why I was thinking about having a separate SIG? Firstly, JCask project has its own regular meetings every 2 weeks on Wednesdays. And yeah, as Evelina said, there are many other activities in Jenkins which technically qualify as configuration as code. So it's, of course, Groovy hooks, the entire pipeline, and job DSL, etc. They are also configuration as code, whether it's the same SQL, etc. Another, it's a separate topic, and yeah, configuration management tools, so there are a lot of them. And my point was that all these topics are not really cloud native. They're kind of prerequisite for Jenkins being cloud native, but they exist for years, and they can be really used in common installations. So cloud native SIG may confuse particular contributors. Any other opinions?
I think it depends on how much talks or you have or topics you have. I mean, if you don't have enough, it's maybe fine to add it as part of cloud native. If you already have like bi-weekly meetings and enough traction, then maybe separate.
Yeah, I believe that JCask itself has a pretty good traction. So yeah, we have about maybe 3 or 4 participants at every call, plus a number of watches after that. So for me, it already looks like an established SIG.
Yeah, I actually have not thought about what you have just mentioned, Oleg, that, well, Jenkins configuration as code is a tool that can kind of help with making Jenkins cloud native, but you doesn't have to have your Jenkins cloud native to use configuration as code or job DSL or anything.
Right, but
so
yes, okay. So yeah, it was my point, but yeah,
sorry,
on the other hand, I have to admit that these stories, and yeah, actually whatever other story we do for pluggable storage also can be used outside cloud native. So maybe this point is not exactly valid. It's just a matter of placement for this story. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah. If you have enough, if you want to start with as part of the cloud native and then branch if there's a lot of interest, then that's fine, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So Evelina, what would be your preference?
I think I would and kind of maybe transform our office hours towards a SIG.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we have things to discuss, but we for sure can find some time to have other things, and
yeah.
Maybe it's also an opportunity for us to get more participants and more feedback. Yesterday I had some about some UI issue in Jenkins configuration as code, and I'd love to have more people to talk about it present at some meetings. So, and I'm planning to talk about it on Wednesday. But anyway, I should not go into details. I think I prefer to, unless someone strongly objects.
Okay, so yeah, what we could do, for example, if you want to keep the existing meeting time slot, we could just edit somehow here. So we add configuration as code to the list of SIG interests, reference the existing JCask subproject, And in the meetings section, we also reference meetings which are already announced here. So in such case, you still have your own schedule, but yeah, it's referenced from cloud-native-sig. And yeah, in such case, you can just join the meeting sometimes and provide update to other participants. I think it would be useful for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody fine with it?
Yeah.
There's no particular reason to have it not be part of this SIG.
No, I don't think so. It's just I sometimes I feel that topics may be like very configuration is code specific, and that's or has I agree with the point where Oleg presents his vision of the scope.
Okay. So something like
that's
that.
just
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so can I say that we agreed on that?
no.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Since the
Okay, so yeah, let's keep it as is. Yep, Evelina, would you be able to do that?
yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Once you create pull requests, please ping me. I will review and merge them as soon as possible.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on this topic? I guess no. So the next one is about configuration storage. So just to provide some background, I have created a job 2 weeks ago. So the idea of this job is to document how external configuration storage would look like in Jenkins. There are some pull requests from Alex, who's also on the call. So yeah, there is a pending pull request to Jenkins core, which proposes to move XML file into hierarchy of XML storage, file storage, so that yeah, it becomes pluggable. As you may see, I have blocked this pull request mostly due to binary compatibility issues, but I definitely agree with the idea that it's something important for Jenkins, especially if we talk about pluggable storages, because external configuration storage allows to have some disaster recovery, and yeah, generally you can get rid of many small XML files with configurations on the disk, so that stories like multi-tenancy also become easier. So I have drafted a job, and in this job I have tried to document my vision. And actually I sent a message to the SIG mailing list yeah, also 2 weeks ago. And what I wanted to do at this meeting, to just answer any questions, if any, and then maybe to sync up with Alex on the reference implementations and on how we proceed with this job. So Alex, are you around?
Oops, wrong button. Yeah, hi. I started looking at it, and I'm trying to get some more hours from my employer to work on this. But now that the weather has improved drastically, I'll be able to do more work on my spare time.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so regarding the discussion, I have started it in the SIG mailing list. So I've got some feedback from James, JC, and Baptiste, but generally it's rather about what would be the priorities. I have asked several questions, which I propose to briefly discuss. Firstly, should it be a plugin or a library? And then, yeah, some implementation specifics. But I think that this one is a real key question to the current design, because if we move configuration storage to a plugin now, we get into all kinds of issues with configuration loading, because configuration loading obviously has to happen very early. Before the most of plugin configurations are loaded, because we need to load the Jenkins config XML and other such files. So in my design, I assumed that whatever configuration storage implementation will be rather a library, not a plugin. So it means that you will not be able to install it from Update Center, but there are other ways. So for example, packaging it or just adding a library to the cloud class path. So I consider it as a feasible workaround until we have a pluggable core components story implemented. So this is an old story started from by TK, which has been hacked during a Jenkins World Hackathon 1 year ago. So generally there is a standing pull request which needs review and a lot of testing to be integrated. But without this pull request, we cannot make this logic as a plugin. At least it's my understanding. Okay, so Jason, maybe you would like to just comment?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's true. Well, I think it at least should be experimented with, because I think you actually can have a plugin do most, if not all, of the file replacement. There are probably some special cases, but yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely, it's safer to do it as a Jenkins module. So.
Yeah. So we already have Jenkins module packaging logic. So in the core, we have several components which are called modules. So yeah, there is a SSHD module, Windows agent installer, etc., etc. The most of these models could be actually converted to plugins at the current state. But yeah, we have an abstraction layer which just gets packaged to the jar file and which can be managed then in Jenkins. But yeah, generally you can just build a library. Okay, so Alex, since you proposed the original pull request, what do you think about models? Is it reasonable to you, or do you need a plugin?
It seems pretty reasonable, especially since pluggable core component isn't available yet.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure what the current status of pluggable core components. I guess.
Yeah, that wouldn't help here anyway. That would be for just updating the version of something that's bundled in Jenkins to begin with. To use a Jenkins module, you have to have a little step to create a custom WAR file. Yeah. It's not hard, but it means you need to produce a special distribution.
Yeah, with custom WAR packager, it becomes pretty easy. So just to show maybe not that new example, but yeah, what you can do, that you can just define lib patches in custom WAR packager invocation, and it will add libraries which will automatically become available in the class path. Here I just replace remoting, but you can add new libraries. And we already have one example of implementation for a library-like thing. So what we have in the JEP is okay. So we have Cubify. It's an old implementation for Fabricate. I tried to invite James Strachan to this call, but yeah, it seems he's busy. But yeah, what this thing does, so it's better to just take a look at commits actually. So if I understand correctly, this is an implementation which has been originally created for Fabricate. So it's before Jenkins X started. And what they did here is that they just modified Jenkins to directly bundle Kubernetes client. And yeah, they replaced all logic in a pretty similar way like Alex did in his pull request. So there is already a reference implementation which uses Kubernetes resources as a storage. So we could just decouple all this Kubernetes custom logic to a model and to get one reference implementation. And this is what I tentatively added to this job. So I assume there will be 2 reference implementations. Okay, where is it? Yeah, file-based storage. Yeah, sorry, I'm lost it a bit. That's why we have table of contents. Okay, yeah, we have Kubernetes configuration storage implementation. I see it as just a fork of Cubify and generalization it as a library. And Alex said he is about working on SQL implementation, so I added it here as a separate reference implementation which we could use. And the rest of the documentation is pretty aligned with the current pull request to Jenkins core, though there are some compatibility requirements set. So for example, we need a file system XML storage, which is obviously a legacy mode. And we also need some logic to ensure that people can migrate the instance, even if we do not provide common data migration flow, at least in the current design. So yeah, 3 implementations, 2 for external storage, 1 for internal. And this is what I would like to see to merge these changes into the Jenkins core. Does it look right to you, or would you expect something else?
I mean, I think in practice, most of the difficulty is not going to be just replacing, for example, the behavior of XML file, but in testing all of the different corner cases about things that are not actually intended to be configuration or are written at the wrong times and things like that. It's going to be a lot of testing of particular scenarios and basically classifying all of the files in Jenkins Home and trying to figure out what they're for. Yeah. And probably doing a bunch of other core cleanup patches.
Right. So yeah, this is probably the biggest problem of this design, because configuration storage API effectively it presumes that we update logic for XML file and probably for other storage types, TBD. And this XML file is being used everywhere. So it's build XML, it's config XML, it's whatever descriptor XML files being created. But yeah, generally, there are lots of use cases where plugin developers just cache data in XMLs on the disk and they use this thing as well. The advantage is that if we implement file storage in a way that it can decide on its own whether the file should be persisted or not, that probably we could not care about this for now. And as an added value, you get an opportunity to offload any files. So for example, Kubernetes configuration storage could probably offload all XMLs, even build XML, why not? But yeah, for SQL configuration storage, we could offload only configuration files, which we could track down because there is an extension point called savable listener. So we can understand which files are savable or not. Yeah, probably we can. So yeah, there is
that files marked savable are not necessarily purely or at all configuration. They can be other kinds of runtimes.
Yeah.
And there are also I think, some things that are saved that do not currently trigger savable listener. As far as
yeah, right. When I was experimenting with some bits, actually I discovered that savable doesn't really behave as you would expect, because savable listener gets involved in many cases, not when you actually not only when you save the file. So I was experimenting with some multi-tenant Jenkins setups, and I hit that. So yeah, but whatever we do, we can introduce as many marker interfaces as we wish. So it's also subject for feedback. And if you want to just comment in the mailing list so that I reflect this comment in the design. So far, I just presume that we provide XML file storage extension point, not an extension point, but yeah, just abstraction layer. And then these implementations decide what to save on their own. So this is the current plan. Okay. So any other comments? Yeah, I will watch the recording and add notes here. Alex, a question for you. Is the current information enough for you to take over this activity for now and maybe to experiment with this pull request? So just to see whether it matches your vision and to see whether it can be implemented?
I think so, yeah. It looks pretty extensive, and if I can think of anything else, I'll bring it up in the Gitter chat.
Okay. Yes, and then if anything needed, just let me know, and I'll try to process this pull request. And if you want, feel free to just patch it on your own, add you to sponsors as well. So you're more than welcome to join this activity, because yeah, you proposed the original pull request anyway, and here I reflect many stuff from your original proposal. Yeah, so if you need to make some edits in the JEP, etc., feel free to do that. Okay. Any questions about this topic? If no, I propose to move on to the next topic on the agenda. It's about external build logging. So yeah, last week we had an update and the video recording is there. So we have presented the work, the design. Jesse has presented a demo for CloudWatch and Fluentd implementation. I also demoed some core API changes. So there was an action item for everybody to take a look at the designs and to provide feedback. Maybe we could briefly update the status, and then yeah, we can discuss any comments regarding the implementation. So, Jesse, would you like to start?
Sure, I can just give a brief overview of where things stand. So JEP 206 was sort of a preliminary change to pipeline logging. Doesn't touch freestyle or anything like that. It's specific to pipeline, which switches all of the log storage to use UTF-8 universally.
All pipeline log storage.
All pipeline log storage, yeah, both for pipeline steps and the overall log is always stored in UTF-8 regardless of the platform. And then the main tricky parts there are dealing with shell steps and the like that run processes on particular agents that may use other encoding. So, if you're running a batch step on a Windows server, it might be using code page 1252 or whatever it is. So after JEP 206, any output gets transcoded to UTF-8 as needed. So all of that stuff has been merged and released. So I hope it's working. I guess the JEP actually needs to be switched to accepted or finalized or something like that since it's out there.
Who's the JEP's BDFL delegate, Sam?
I'm not sure that was ever actually set. I know I was asking Kosuke to try to pick a delegate. I don't remember if a delegate got set for it. At this point, it's sort of moot because it's merged.
Yes, so BDFL delegate TBD. Right. So maybe it's something to LAME to check. There will be a JEP status update with Incap tomorrow. So maybe we could take a look at this JEP and see what we can do to get it landed.
Oh, it's actually, that was going to be today if anyone had any topics, but so far I haven't heard anything from folks. So I will,
right.
And Oleg will not, Kosuke will not be there, so.
Well, you can add that. Yeah, you can add that topic to the office hours, I guess.
So I tried to grant write permissions to this document to every SIG member. So you could try. I'm not sure what it does because I failed to find Carlos in my address book. Okay. Regarding other JEPs, so Jesse, you also work on JEP 210, right?
Yeah, so JEP 210 that treats 206 as a prerequisite. JEP 210 is basically a complete overhaul of how build logs are actually managed for pipeline. So I won't go into the details of the historical decisions, but if you go into the specification, basically it covers 4 kinds of changes that build on one another. And the first change here, the invert control of durable task polling. So that is prepared as a set of independently releasable pull requests, which are undergoing tests right now. And basically the purpose of that is to make sure that if you're running a shell step on an agent, that any kind of cloud native build log storage that gets implemented is able to stream that log output directly from the agent without involving the master for every, to handle every single line. So in other words, we're allowing an implementation of logging to bypass the remoting channel between master and agent and have the, cut out the middleman and just have all of the log text sent straight off to some other source. And then the other 3 phases are done as another set of pull requests that's undergoing review, and that basically in total adds an extension point that allows the log sync for pipeline builds to be swapped out by a plugin. So we have a reference implementation that assumes that outgoing log messages are being streamed to FluentD, and then you have to configure FluentD to mirror all of those messages onto CloudWatch logs, and then if and when somebody browses the build logs via Jenkins, then it uses CloudWatch logs APIs to retrieve the content later. And I gave I guess it was last meeting that I gave a demo of that running.
Yes, it was the last meeting. Yeah, maybe the link in JEP needs to be updated because now we have another baseline.
Yes, now it's in the Jenkins CI org now.
Yeah. So probably I should also summarize my activities. So I'm working on JEP 207 and 212. So JEP 207 is an ongoing patch to the Jenkins core. It's introducing APIs for external logging directly in the Jenkins core. So as Jesse said, the idea is to make storage reporters pluggable, so they do not go through, so that logs do not go through the master, etc. Jesse does it on the pipeline level, and I'm doing it on the Jenkins core level. So it's split to two pull requests and two JEPs. External build logging support, just minimal set of API changes needed to support that in the core for any job type. So it's freestyle jobs, which we mostly target, yeah, of course, matrix jobs and all other types accepting pipeline. So there were significant changes in the implementations since the last meeting. So as we were discussing, there was a question whether we need a single abstraction layer class in the core or multiple ones. So finally, I implemented the thing. So now it has only one class, log storage. So there is no logging method and log browsers in a separate way anymore. Then there were also some changes in implementation to simplify that. And yeah, currently there is an updated pull request to the Jenkins core. After simplification, it became a bit bigger because I've also added some test automation and other stuff. But generally, APIs became more simple. I've got some another feedback iteration from Jesse, which I need to address. But yeah, generally it's going forward. So I hope we get it landed towards the next LTS baseline. It's my plan. And regarding the downstream change, we have another JEP, which is JEP 212. So it's external logging API. It actually implements core APIs and also implements bridge methods so that it transparently integrates with changes being implemented by Jesse and JEP 210. So yeah, here I have an external logging API plugin, and there is also a pending change. Yeah, I also have outdated link. And yeah, there is a pending change which will align it with core patches. So currently, all patches are passing the tests, and logging works correctly. For my implementation, I have Elasticsearch reference implementation. So now it shows logs. There are some glitches there which I want to address. But yeah, before I will do that, my plan is to generalize some APIs because we need to unify JSON submission handling between implementations, and also we need an implementation for eventual consistent storages so that we do not need to implement the engine multiple times. So these are the things which block me from alpha-ready state of this external logging API. Yeah, as well as core patches release. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that I will be able to deliver them soon. So this is the current state for patches in the core. We still have an open question how we integrate JEP 207 and JEP 210 between each other, because there is some overlap in APIs. But yeah, I think that we do not need to integrate them in the initial implementation, and then yeah, we can do it in the follow-up. At least it's my understanding of the current approach. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I wish we could get all these JEPs over the fence. So assuming that 206 is going to be accepted. So we have 3 JEPs. So this one is under review. And I guess there will be no major changes there, right? And yeah, these ones, yeah, they are also in flux, but yeah, I hope that JEPs themselves include all documentation required. So yeah, this is the current status. So I guess no cool demos today. There is still a lot of work to do, but yeah, we are moving forwards in all implementations. Okay. Any questions? Okay. I guess no. So should we move on to the next topic, or does anybody want to spend more time discussing external logging? Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So last meeting, Jeff Pierce proposed several bits to discuss. So he added several stories. Unfortunately, Jeff Pierce is not on the call, but what I would propose to do is to just to understand whether it would be in the scope of the SIG or would it be another SIG. So maybe Carlos, would you be interested to review that so that we adjust the scope of this SIG and maybe clarify it a bit? Mm-hmm. So the first one, I'm interested in easy deployment via Kubernetes to AWS and support for canaries. Yeah, for me, it's hard to comment whether it should be Jenkins Evergreen or Jenkins X or just cloud native.
Well, yeah, the deployment to Kubernetes and AWS, yes, but that is part of what we are working on.
Mm-hmm. So we have one abstract item here, replication, but
canaries of Jenkins, yeah.
Yeah, canary upgrades, 0 downtime. So yeah, this guy definitely. So, yeah. Regarding the rest of the topics, honestly, I have some doubts. So for support for Mac agents, I think that it's actually platform SIG. So we have another special interest group, which has been also created a while ago, and we had a meeting yesterday. So this group focusing on all kinds of platforms, including JVM support, operating systems, architectures. So, and I guess Mac falls in here easily. So if there are specific topics for Mac support or whatever, I think it rather goes to there. Unless it's something like Mac Stadium or whatever is being used in the cloud. Okay, and this one, what would it be? Yeah. My proposal would be to ask Pipeline team whether they want to create their own SIG. Yeah, because for me it looks a bit weird that yeah, Pipeline is one of the most active projects now, but yeah, there is no sub-project, no special interest group. So maybe it would be a way to go there, because yeah, it doesn't look like a cloud-native-sig to me. Or maybe just developer mail list.
Yeah, I would imagine pipeline sort of touches so broad a section of Jenkins at this point that having a SIG for it might be a bit like inviting everyone to be part of a like, do you want to be part of Jenkins? Well, you're doing pipeline. So
yeah, developer mailing list might be preferable.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, yeah, maybe when Jeff comes back, I will communicate it to him. So I guess it should address questions from Jeff. So if you want to discuss something, we still have 10 minutes left. So just drop your items to the agenda and we will discuss them afterwards. And yeah, just to complete the agenda, what about regular meetings? Is this slot comfortable for everybody, or should we consider another one? It feels that we have enough content for bi-weekly meetings at least.
I'm still trying to get used to 7 a.m. and earlier meetings, but I think I'm not sure if I'm alone on that one.
Yeah, in configuration as code plugin, we have meetings at 7 a.m. UTC.
Yeah, midnight PST. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, this is a problem of all distributed communities.
I was actually, if I can comment, I was thinking if we have bi-weekly meetings for cloud-native-sig and we find a time slot that works both for Europe and States or other people, shift and have the same time slot, but other every second week for configuration as code.
Yeah, if we find a time slot which is suitable for the entire planet,
yeah,
probably it's a Nobel Prize.
Entire planet, but yeah, something that will work for more people.
Just make the money off of that. We'll just establish that it'll be worth millions.
Yeah, right. Usually we do such meetings at something like 9 p.m. UTC, because in such case, probably Europeans are still around and people from Asian and Pacific, yeah, they probably can wake up by this time, but yeah, it's a bold assumption as well. So what we could do, I could create a doodle so that we discuss the regular time slot. Oh, okay. I'm not a native speaker, sorry.
Native speakers do worse, I'm afraid.
Yeah, exactly. When you say bi-weekly, half the time people are you twice a week?
Yeah. Okay, every 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I propose, I create a doodle.
I won't. I'm fine with this slot. I'm just whinging. All right, let me whinge.
Yeah, right. Okay. So yeah, I will create that. Regarding the next meetings, any topics to discuss, by the way? So one thing that we will definitely have a meeting on September 17th in San Francisco. So yeah, since many people go there to Jenkins World, we could spend some time and have a face-to-face meeting of the SIG. It's something work in progress, but yeah, maybe we want to meet before. So today is 16th. What about a meeting around August 30th?
Well, if it's afternoon, I have to run 5Ks, so I would prefer to be at the meeting, but
Yeah, I will create a doodle anyway, so I cannot guarantee what will be the final date. It's just approximately August 30th. So we will definitely have something to discuss for external logging again, maybe for log storage, maybe for some other stories. Then yeah, Jesse and Carlos were working on Artifact Manager. So maybe it would be interesting if we could present something in the SIG. What do you think?
Have we not presented Artifact Manager already? I guess not to this
Not
one.
in the SIG at least.
Was it recorded?
So regarding that, what we could do, we could have a Jenkins online meetup and just present it to everyone. It would be one approach. But yeah, I do not recall that it has been presented in any way in the Jenkins community. Obviously, there were a lot of presentations between us, but yeah, I do not recall any public presentations. Okay. So would it make sense to do that, or maybe not?
Well, sure, if anyone's interested.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we could do is to just do it in a JOM.
Yeah, we can do JOMs, but you have to schedule. You generally want to schedule those 2 weeks out. So now would be the time to schedule it, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, then I will take it offline with Carlos, Jesse, and yeah, maybe we schedule something.
Right. Do you want to? I guess will Artifact Manager be far enough along at that point to do a JOM for it? Yes.
Already released.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. So it's staged. Why I've thought about that, because yeah, we have it in the cloud-native-sig scope.
Sure.
So maybe it would make sense to spend some time on that. It would be also interesting to talk about credentials, actually, because yeah, there were at least 2 questions in the cloud-native-sig room over last month about that. But yeah, I will talk to people. Maybe we could get it done. Okay, so if I get something like that, then we could do Artifact Manager and credentials storage in a single JOM.
Yeah, that could be interesting. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, then I will start Doodle. Then according to Doodle, we schedule this meeting. And yeah, then we will try to have something more or less regular.
Cool.
So, any other topics?
I have a question about configuration storage. If we save configuration into KBus, do we need storage in local file system, or we don't need?
Yeah, so the idea of external configuration storage and actually of all pluggable storage stories, that when we implement them, we move configs outside. So it means that there will be no configurations on the disk anymore. Because otherwise you could just use plugins like a same-sync configuration, which actually also push configuration externally. But yeah, they still rely on the disk, so they do not address external storage problem in general. And the idea here is that all configurations are moved outside. Obviously, it causes some issues. Yeah, just a second, I'm making now. Yeah, so in the JEP, there is a backward compatibility section. And this backward compatibility section explicitly says that for new storage implementations, some things may be incompatible because the implementation will change. So some things on the list is disk usage plugin, job configuration history, same-sync configuration, also backup plugins, especially Google Cloud Backup. So these plugins may be incompatible with the new storage implementation. It's TBD because all APIs will be compatible, but yeah, I'm not completely sure that we will be able to retain compatibility there in the same way. So for example, job configuration history, how it would work now, it will be still receiving savable listener notification, then it will be retrieving XML file. So in order to retrieve XML file, it will be using the compatibility layer here. So yeah, there will be a get file method which actually presents a configuration file on the disk, even if it's externalized. So maybe config history will be working, but it will be definitely non-efficient. So yeah, these plugins may just break. Does it answer your question?
Fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what we require that for existing legacy storage, we retain full compatibility. So effectively, nothing changes in all use cases, including some not that common use cases. For example, there are plugins which make both assumption about location of build XML or config XML on the disk, pretty similar to what we hit with artifact storage. So yeah, these plugins may be affected by but for file system-based storage, nothing changes. So that it means that any upgrading instance will behave as before. But yeah, for new storage implementations, there is still some research and testing to be done, because it's just hard to predict how these plugins will behave with all this stuff. So disk usage plugin, yeah, it will be reporting accurate disk numbers because it will be pulling data and creating the data it needs. Which, yeah, it sounds completely weird, but it's how it would work in this case. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So, any other questions? Okay, it seems there is no other questions. So then, thanks everybody for participating in the call, and thanks to everybody who was watching this call in YouTube. So this video will be processed and published maybe in 30 minutes. And yeah, if you have questions after the call, just join our GitHub chat or mailing list and ask there. So yeah, that's it. Thank you again, and I'm stopping the broadcast.